if the president really cares about this country and not about his friends, then he should disband the cabinet and appoint people who can deliver service to the Republic of Kenya. Otherwise, these people who are serving themselves or using public office to serve themselves are not acceptable to continue being in office. But as we say, you know a person by the friends he keeps. So you have been able to know the president by the kind of cabinet he has. Is a cabinet of people who are basically of bad character or no character at all. And if they continue being in office, then it means whatever they do it on behalf of the president. We can conclude that even the fake fertilizer was a project of the president. The cooking oil scandal was a project of the president, and all these people are just his handmaids. But if really these scandals that are hurting people are true, that the president was not involved, then let him fire these people. Let him give us a cabinet that can inspire confidence in this country, a cabinet that can serve this republic. Let him give us PSs who are not out for personal enrichment, but are out to serve the people of Kenya. That would be my contribution to that. And a lot of the things he has promised, he has not done. Others he has done halfway. The issue of the first lady, the second, the wife, the first lady, and the wife of the deputy president, the wife of the prime cabinet secretary, stopping money to them, that's okay. But what happens to the money they have already received? Are we recovering that money? Is Rachel Ruto giving us back the hundreds of millions of shillings she has squandered on what they call prayer diplomacy or something? Will the wife to Mheshimiwa Gachagua return the money she has received from the state illegally? Will the wife of the Honorable Mudavadi return the money she has received illegally from the state? This is the kind of action we want. This thing of half-hearted measures to try and calm down the country are not acceptable. We have crossed that point. We want concrete action. We want figures. We want facts and figures being put on the table. We also want the issues of people earning double pensions and whatever, what have you, to come out and be dealt with. So I think the government, the president is running a formation that is not a government. I don't know what the name is, but it's not a government. So he needs to dismantle it and make an attempt at forming a government that can serve the Republic of Kenya. Otherwise, he just packs and goes himself and leaves the space for other people who can do a better job to come. Our constitution provides for the resignation of a president. And if you find that you cannot perform, you are not able to deliver on the task, you do the honorable thing, you resign so that those who are more able can come in and deliver and serve Kenyans. If you want to say that nobody above 60 should be contracted or should continue serving in the public service, then you need to amend the law. You need to get his MPs to amend the law of the Public Service Commission, the Public Service Commission Act, which has got provisions like in Section 37, I think, and what have you, which have provisions on how long people can serve in office. So, and those allow for contractual appointments. So that people are above 60 are on contracts. There are people who are under, that's what you call it, permanent and pensionable, who should pack when they get to 60. You have people who are disabled, who the law allows to serve until 65 years of age. So all those things are there, and so the president cannot just wake up and issue a flat statement that that's the case. What he should have done was to move Parliament to amend the Constitution, to amend the Act of Parliament if they would agree with him, and then they go ahead, because some of these things touch on contractual rights and what have you, and they cannot be extinguished by executive fiat from the president. So I think the pronouncement, whatever the purpose it wanted to serve, I don't know. But we should not divert attention from the fact that money is being stolen, money is being misappropriated, money that would have changed this country, that would have moved this country forward, and much, much more money than what could be paid to over 60 the 60 plus people who are aged 60 plus, much more money is being lost to corruption, to wastefulness, and other forms of misappropriation, which for me I think is where the president should focus and ensure that all public funds are spent in a lawful and efficient manner so that there's value for money. Otherwise, all these things that all these theatrics may not end up to much at the end of the day. If the task force is legitimate, I think the president can appoint any Kenyan as long as he gets the consent of the person he's appointing. But in this particular case, I think the issue was that the Law Society, the Law Society found that the particular appointment was unconstitutional, and therefore they did not want to validate it, not to be associated with anything that's unconstitutional, because the Auditor General is the one who has been invested with the powers to make these audits. And in fact, from where some of us sit, the law is very clear. Article 229, I think, clause 4G, is very clear that the Auditor General shall audit and give a report on the public debt every year, 6 months after the close of every year. So I expect these reports to be available. If they are not available, then the Auditor General needs to tell us why the public debt has not been audited. So instead of appointing another body that will basically duplicate the work of the Auditor General and result in us spending and wasting a lot of money. So the decision by the President of the Law Society to decline the appointment, for me, is laudable and should be encouraged. But the whole thing, the entire task force is unconstitutional. And I think we are going to court to have it quashed so that we don't waste public funds on things that will go nowhere. Because even a report that body will give cannot be used anywhere. It's a superfluous report. There's no mandate to make it. So unless it's done by the Auditor General, or with the blessing of the Auditor General, nothing is happening. If it was the Auditor General appointing people and saying this is the experts I want, it will be that. The other thing is that if you look at the body, the expertise to do an audit is not there. That expertise to do a forensic audit is not there because some of the people are engineers, some people are, what do you call it? Lawyers or whatever. I thought the forensic audit would be done with people who are trained in fraud audits and stuff like that. Not what we are seeing right now. So for me, and where I said, I think the task force is just what you would say, somebody trying to hang on to power by the skin of his teeth. He has lost legitimacy, and the noble thing would be for President Ruto to resign and say, you Kenyans, you gave me this thing, I can't manage it, allow me to go back to my private life and get other people who can deal with these issues to come forward and deal with these issues. And when I say the president resigns, I don't mean him, Ruto, as an individual. I mean the entire Kenya Kwanza administration. Anything that is the political setup of Kenya Kwanza goes. That's the president, the vice president, and the cabinet should disappear, because that's what the executive authority of the republic is vested in: the president, the deputy president, and the cabinet. When we say they have failed, those are the people who mean they have failed, and those are the people who should be resigning and packing and going, and we organize this country accordingly, so we can get a leadership that can address the needs of this country.
In the current situation in the country, we don't have a IEBC.
No, that's not an issue. As far as I'm concerned, an election for president can be handled right now. There's no way that the constitution was designed in such a way that parliament and the president can agree not to appoint the IBC and therefore avoid an election. Can that situation assume they don't appoint the IBC until 2027? Does that mean that the current president and the current MPs will stay in office until the point they decide to appoint a commission? No. The issue is that under the Constitution, and I think it's Article 86, Clause 3 and 4, elections are conducted at the constituency, in the constituency by a returning officer whom we have already, and the presiding officers who are temporary employees. You also have an election for president. If you go to Article 138, Clause 2, it says where more than one candidate is clear to run for president, an election shall take place in each one of the constituencies. The presidential election takes place in the constituency, does not take place at Bomas. The introduction in the Elections Act that the chairman of the IEBC is the returning officer for the president is against the constitution. And therefore, it cannot be used to deny us elections. It cannot be used to deny us elections. So the presidential elections will be held at Bomas. It should not be held at Bomas. It should be held in each one of the 290 constituencies. We get 290 results, and then even the media can call and say this is the person who won the election. Because when the IBC chair only declares, he does not conduct the election. And a declaration is nothing more than just a formality. So for what they did, what Parliament did and the Elections Act, making the IBC chair the returning officer for the election of the president, violates Article 138, Clause 2, which says that, and also violates Article 86, Clauses 3 and 4, which say that an election for president will take place in each constituency, meaning we must have results of each constituency. That will be 290 results of the presidential election. This idea of transmitting material from the polling stations to Bomas is unconstitutional, it's not provided for. And right now, what is happening in this country, the problem we have is the failure to uphold the Constitution, the failure for us to implement this Constitution the way it is. So, if Ruto resigns with the entire cabinet, a new election will be held. The transitional mechanism is there, and we don't need the IBC commissioners. The secretariat is there. All the people who are the returning officers are in place. We just have elections in the county, in the constituencies, and we are done. No, that's what I'm saying. Just like what he said that people are over 60 cannot continue serving, he has no powers to do that. You know, the problem with President Ruto is that he doesn't know the law. He still thinks he's governing like Moi governed under the old constitution. This constitution limits his powers. The people are sovereign, and he needs to take his time to understand the law. He cannot dissolve parastatals that have got acts of parliament. He cannot decide that people over 60 cannot serve when the law says people who are disabled will serve up to 65. The law says lecturers and judicial officers will serve until they are 75. The law allows the public service to hire people on contract even after retirement. He cannot just do that by executive fiat. That cannot work. The other question I've asked about whether he understands what the Gen Z want. I think he understands what the Gen Z wants. But he's not ready to do what they want. These are two different things. To understand what people want and to do what they want, he's not ready. He's not ready to do what they want. That's why he's tinkering around, trying to play with the edges, trim the edges, to try and do some haircuts here and there. But the Gen Z are saying, your administration has failed. Create room for an administration that can govern this country to take over and to govern better than you can govern. He doesn't understand them. So he thinks that they're asking for formalities or some small things. The Gen Zs are asking for very, very radical change. The Gen Zs are asking for the implementation of the Constitution, the rule of law. The Gen Z want the punishment of people who have stolen from us. None of them have been punished. There's no even sign that it's going to punish them. So I don't think President Ruto can deliver on the demands that the Gen Zs want. And that's why some of us are saying the noble thing to do is to vacate office with his administration, the cabinet, and the vice president. The entire executive should go and then create room for us to have an election where a new executive can be appointed to serve this country and to implement the rule of law.